Welcome into CBS News 24/7. I'm Elizabeth Cook. We start this hour with breaking news out of the Middle East. The Israel Defense Forces saying that they may have eliminated one of Hamas's top leaders, Yahya Sinwar. The IDF reports that 3 terrorists were killed during what the IDF is calling routine operations in the Gaza Strip. Now, at this stage, they have not confirmed the identity of the terrorists, but they are using DNA and fingerprints to potentially identify Sinwar. Now, it's worth noting that they did not find any hostages during the operations. We'll, of course, bring you the updates as they come in. We're going to talk now to CBS News reporter Courtney Kealy shortly, but first I want to get to CBS News contributor Robert Berger. Robert, when should we expect confirmation on this?
I expect that it's going to come pretty soon, but they're still in the process of officially identifying the body. Now, according to Israeli media, this is indeed Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas. But the government and the army simply want to make 100% sure that it's him before they make an official announcement. And we're expecting this announcement to be made by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself.
And Robert, Sinwar is described as the chief architect of October 7th. If this is in fact Yahya Sinwar, if he is dead, what does this mean for the wider war in that region?
This could be a turning point in the war because the Israelis and even the Americans felt that Sinwar was really an obstacle to reaching a hostage deal with Israel to get back those about 100 hostages still left in Gaza. So the hope is with him out of the way that perhaps they might be able to move those hostage talks forward. They've been actually stuck now for about 6 months with no negotiations at all going on over the past month. So the hostage families have already come out urging the Israeli government to make a deal on the hostages and the war, bring the hostages home. The question is, who is Israel going to negotiate with now that Sinwar may be out and doesn't have a clear successor?
And we may find that out in just the next few hours. CBS News contributor Robert Berger, thank you so much. All right, let's get back to CBS News reporter Courtney Kealy. Courtney, we're awaiting DNA evidence to be examined in possible Hamas leader Sinwar's death. Do you know how long it's going to take?
Well, it's interesting. Basically, we have to realize that we don't know how he was killed. So in terms of DNA, not to be macabre, but what was the shape of the body in? Do they have the ability to do fingerprints? Or are they going to have to do DNA samples? But Israel will be quick on this. And what we're really probably expecting, I think we're going to be seeing is sort of a we got him Osama bin Laden moment for Netanyahu. This is a man that was a messianic killer. He oppressed his own people. He exerted an almost extremist, not an almost, an absolute extremist Islamic law that he put into place when he was in power. He exerted it over years. He was a forefather of Hamas when it was created in 1987, and their dictate, their charter was to destroy Israel. Very different from Fatah, the former leader Yasser Arafat, and other Palestinian leaders. It has to be noted that Hamas does not speak for all Palestinians. So he spent 22 years in jail learning Hebrew, learning the ways of the Israelis, with the only thought in his mind is to kill Israelis and to decimate the state of Israel, which he was doing and trying to do with that massacre on October 7th. He was behind it, he created it, and he also did it possibly without the sign-off of Hamas leaders outside the country, because you see what it has wrought. The Palestinians are decimated inside Gaza. Whether they wanted or support Hamas, it's unclear, because you cannot speak out against Hamas when you're there. I've been there many times, crossing through Hamas checkpoints, and it is a hostile environment, very different from my early career when I used to go in very early on when Yasser Arafat was still alive and Fatah and the PLO were in charge. So you did go into a feeling of oppression and that you were not able to speak out. Of course, I was able to report what I saw, but not speak out against Hamas when I was there. I've been through a series of assassinations there. The spiritual leader, Sheikh Yassin, and then his predecessor. And now what we're seeing with Yahya Sinwar after Ismail Haniyeh is the most, I would not even hesitate to put this find a point on it. A bloodthirsty killer who believed that his idea was if you were not adhering to the most extremist Islamic law, that you were to be killed or to be tortured, and to adhere to what he put into Gaza. But it was also a social welfare system that took care of its own people. So there is that layer of it. We don't know how long his legacy will live on, but his goal was to be the martyr of all of Hamas. And now it does look like, from what we're hearing from the Israeli government, how they're cautioning this. But as Robert said, we do expect to hear from Prime Minister Netanyahu. But the big question is, with the Hezbollah leader killed, Nasrallah in Lebanon, with Yahya Sinwar probably killed and identified, what happens next? Because we really do have regional incursions in warfare throughout the region, with Netanyahu saying that he's still waiting to respond to the Israeli ballistic missiles, Iranian ballistic missile strikes. Will Prime Minister Netanyahu stop at this, or will this placate the leaders or whoever is left in Hamas to wave the white flag? But will Prime Minister Netanyahu continue to go to his ultimate foe, which is Iran, the Islamic, the mullahs, the Islamic extremists that hold Iran and the people there under their iron fist? So will this stop here? Will this lead to a peace deal, or will we see more? And that's the big question that we'll also be watching while they announce this death. We expect it. We'll see if it's actually true. They will make sure with certainty that it is him before they announce it, though.
Yeah, leaders around the world hoping for a ceasefire if this is indeed him. CBS News reporter Courtney Kealy, thank you so much for that insight. Meanwhile, President Biden will address the bloodshed in Israel and the steps to finding a diplomatic solution during his trip to Germany. In addition to meeting with leaders in that country, he'll also sit down with officials from the UK and France. The other issues on the table: praising Germany for their role in a prisoner swap that took place with Russia earlier this year, and funding for Ukraine. CBS News White House reporter Willie James Inman joins us from Berlin. Willie, let's start by hashing out some of the issues the president will cover during this trip. Some pretty big feats that he's trying to accomplish, so to speak, including trying to get Ukraine a $50 billion loan from frozen Russian assets by the end of this year. What can you tell us about that?
Hey there, Elizabeth. Good to be with you. That's right. President Biden has a long list of priorities for this trip to Berlin, where he will meet with his German counterpart, the Chancellor Olaf Scholz. He will also meet with the leaders, as you mentioned, of the United Kingdom and France as well. And they're going to talk about a path forward in terms of continuing to support Ukraine. The United States is the largest contributor to Ukraine in terms of aid, financial aid, and military aid that country needs to push back against Russian aggression. Germany is number 2 in terms of that aid going to Ukraine. And as you mentioned, that $50 billion loan backed by those seized Russian assets, that is a big topic of conversation amongst these leaders, because there's a lot of red tape as to how to go about to legally do this. And the goal is essentially to be able to do this in the next couple of months. But on the table as well is the conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Hezbollah, and in Gaza as well between Israel and Hamas. That will certainly be a topic of conversation for those world leaders. And the president is going to meet with those world leaders tomorrow. But this was supposed to be a bigger meeting. The president was supposed to meet with dozens of world leaders to talk about the path forward in supporting Ukraine. That meeting is no longer happening because the president had to scuttle his trip here to Germany last week, and he's doing that this week. But that meeting between those world leaders, dozens of them, with the group that will continue to support Ukraine, that's going to happen virtually next month, Elizabeth.
And Willie, we know he's going to talk about Ukraine. You know he's going to cover what's happening in Israel, Lebanon, and of course Gaza. What else does the president hope to accomplish?
Yeah, well, part of this is a thank you tour, so to speak. The president has been quite close with the chancellor here in Germany. We know the two leaders have not only talked several times over the past few years, but they've met as well. This will likely be President Biden's last trip to Europe as president of the United States as he finishes out his term. And he will likely thank the chancellor for playing a key role in that Russian prisoner swap. Dozens of people swapped for Americans included in that swap as well. And so there was a lot of diplomacy going on behind the scenes. A lot of different governments, including the Europeans, most notably the Germans, played a key role here. President Biden mentioned as much when this swap took place earlier this year. So the president meeting with these leaders, perhaps his last trip to Europe as president of the United States, but also calling about that support of Ukraine as we head into an election. And I'll note that it's unclear how things will play out if former President Donald Trump is elected president of the United States. That's perhaps on the minds of not only President Biden, but leaders here in Europe as well, Elizabeth.
Willie James Inman, CBS News White House reporter, reporting for us from Berlin. Thanks so much, Willie.